All right, so let's dive into this source that makes a pretty bold claim, one that goes against what a lot of people think is settled science. The idea that you can actually grow taller well after your teen years. And here it is. This is the central claim that got everyone's attention. A 4-inch increase in height in just 1 year, and well past the age where you'd expect any kind of growth spurt. That's a huge change. So let's dig in and see how this was supposedly possible. So yeah, the big question is, how? I mean, really, how could a change like that happen? Well, according to the source, it's not some kind of magic trick. It's all broken down into a very specific 3-part system. Think of it like this. The system has 3 core parts. First, you've got the high-impact action, which is kind of like the engine that's supposed to kickstart growth. Then there's stretching and alignment, which is all about maximizing the height you already have. And finally, you've got the foundational fuel, which is the nutrition and rest your body needs to actually repair and build. Okay, so let's get into that first part, the so-called engine of growth. This is all about using dynamic, high-impact activities as a physical trigger for your body. And the source is super specific here. It focuses on 2 sports in particular, basketball and volleyball. Now, why these 2? Well, because they naturally combine 3 key things this method calls for: lots of jumping, quick sprints, and a whole lot of stretching. And listen, this isn't about just casually shooting hoops now and then. The method calls for a really dedicated schedule. We're talking at least 3 times a week for a good 30 to 60 minutes each time. The whole idea is that you need that consistent stimulus to get your body to adapt. Now, if you want a more targeted exercise, the source introduces something called Mazai jumps. And the theory behind these, it's pretty intense. It suggests that these powerful jumps create tiny microfractures in your shin bones, which, according to the source, then heal back longer and stronger. And when they say intense, they mean it. We're not talking about a few little hops. The recommendation is to do these jumps in sets of 100. And it doesn't stop there. The full routine is 10 of those sets, 5 days a week. Yeah, if you do the math, that's 1,000 jumps a day. It really shows you just how high volume this part of the method is supposed to be. And to round out the whole impact section, skipping rope is also thrown in there. Just 5 or 10 minutes a day. It's pitched as another great tool to stimulate your growth plates and, it's also a pretty good warm-up for everything else. So that's the high impact part. But according to the source, that's really only half the battle. Part 2 is all about creating length and alignment through stretching, essentially making the absolute most of the height you already have. And here's a key point. The source claims that a huge chunk of that potential height gain doesn't even come from growing new bone. It comes from just fixing bad posture and decompressing your spine. That's a really crucial distinction. And you can really see what they mean right here. Look at the difference. On the left, you've got that typical slump, the curved spine, which literally makes you shorter. But on the right, with proper alignment and a straight spine, you instantly gain back that lost height. So how do you get that better alignment? Well, the source lays out a whole daily stretching routine. You've got things like just hanging from a bar to decompress the spine, plus some moves you might recognize from yoga, like the cobra stretch and downward dog, which are great for your back and legs. All right, on to the final piece of the puzzle. This is the foundation that's supposed to make all that physical work actually work. We're talking about fueling your body with the right nutrition and rest. And the source is crystal clear on this. It basically says, look, you can do all the jumping and stretching you want, but if you're not eating right, it's all pointless. Your diet is presented as completely non-negotiable. So what's the right fuel? It boils down to 3 main building blocks. You need a diet rich in protein for muscle and tissue repair, high in calcium for bone density, and enough vitamin D so your body can actually absorb all that calcium. And it's not just about what you eat. Rest is huge. The idea is that all the actual repair and growth happens when you're asleep, not when you're working out. That's why the specific recommendation is to get at least 9 hours of sleep every night. Now here's an interesting little twist. The method actually advises against lifting super heavy weights. The claim is that that kind of intense strain can actually be counterproductive because growth happens during rest, not during a strenuous workout. So let's be real, that whole 11-step program is a massive commitment. Recognizing that, the source actually offers a condensed version, a kind of shortcut for people who just don't have that much time. This easiest path strips everything down to just 2 core pillars. Number 1, consistently play basketball or volleyball
And number 2, make sure you're eating a good diet to support all that activity. That's it.
And the logic behind the shortcut is actually pretty simple. The argument is that those sports are just incredibly efficient. They naturally pack in all the jumping and dynamic stretching from the other exercises, all into one single activity. So after going through all of this, it leaves us with one big question. Is this a blueprint for actually growing new bone? Or is it a really intense guide for maximizing your potential height by fixing your posture and taking care of your spinal health? The source